Welcome to the Investing in Real Estate show. I'm Clayton Morris, the founder of Morris Invest, longtime real estate investor. And on this show, our goal is to provide you with financial intelligence to help you build and maintain a fantastic real estate portfolio. Our goal is to educate you so you can become a more intelligent real estate investor, navigating all of these laws and crazy things that are changing constantly. We have a great guest on the show today. His name is Edward O'Daniel. He's a real estate investor, he's a broker, he's a coach, and he's a disabled Army veteran. And his website, if you're interested, you want to check out, is veteranlandlord.com, where landlords come to learn. And today on the show, we're going to talk with Edward about what it is like to be a landlord. Should you choose to actually manage properties yourself? That's a question I get an awful lot. Edward, welcome to the show, my friend.
Awesome, man. I am so pumped to be here. I can't tell you how much stuff I've listened to you just over the years on YouTube and so forth. So I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, and thank you, of course, for your service to our country as well. I really appreciate that, and we all of our viewers do as well. Give our audience a little background. We're going to talk landlording here, and we're going to talk about eviction moratoriums that are obviously in the news and what it's like to manage properties. But just give our audience a little background here. How did you get into real estate investing?
Well, sure. Well, I started back in 2005. So that was sort of when I first bought I was still working at a W-2 job. So I had a good paying job and wanted to take some of our extra money and invest it in real estate. Right now at the time, I was excited to do it, but I honestly tell you, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have any education. I didn't buy my first property right. As a matter of fact, I lost money on that property over the years that we just didn't buy it right. So anyway, I started from 2005, started buying rental properties. We've done rehabbing and flipping, but I still ultimately love the fact of just buying rental properties and managing them myself because I'm a self-managed person. But one of the things I'm really passionate about, and one of the reasons why I built Veteran Landlord and provided a free course for that, is just to give people some basic information. And I want to make sure that if people get into this business, they know what it is that they're getting into. They know what they don't know, and at least bring some of those points up. And part of the training course goes over just things to watch out for, systems that you need to set up, things that you're going to need to know so that it's not scary for you. Because a lot of things that I stumbled into when I was in this business was I stumbled into them like stepping into a bear trap. And that's really painful at times, if you can imagine. So because I just didn't know, I didn't have anybody that can help me understand how much to pay for things or what the expense is of this or what to look for, how to avoid that expense. So again, from 2005, I've been investing, and right now I just really like to help and talk about why you should invest in real estate. If you want to be a landlord, that's great, but I want to make sure that people who want to start self-managing their properties, that they know what's involved. Because if they know what's involved, they may make another decision instead of managing it themselves to just buy a property from somebody else and then have them manage the property for them, just like an investment.
So let's talk about that. The type of person that would come to you and want to learn, do you see any common themes among these people, like age range, things that they're worried about in their career, finances? Who are the typical person that would come to you and want to make a change, want to learn about real estate and take things to a different point in their life?
Well, that's actually changed a bit. Before, it was more or less established people, somewhere probably in the 30 to 45 years old range. People that already had a career, people that had been promoted several times up the chain. They were making good money. Now they just wanted to do things like reduce their tax burden by buying property and getting some of the tax benefits from property, or being able to include passive income. Maybe they wanted to extend. They already had money in their 401k. They already had money in stocks, but now they wanted to diversify a little bit more and invest in real estate to get the appreciation in certain markets. Now, that was what I noticed before, but now what I'm seeing is a lot more younger people. And we're talking some people in the 20 to 30-year-old range. There's real estate's a great topic. People are out there wholesaling, rehabbing. They're getting a great start doing that. But then they're starting to make some money, and they're like, well, I want to start putting some of this money to work because now the younger generation are getting smarter. They're getting smarter because now they're taking their money and they're just not blowing it. And I was really surprised by this myself. I mean, to be quite honest, it's just people are looking to take their money and then buy rentals to hold it and start generating passive income. So they don't necessarily have to be doing so many deals to make the same amount of money. They can start using that passive income to help compensate for that. And they've got a longer, start building their portfolio up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm certainly seeing that with my audience, seeing younger people who are realizing like, wow, maybe I think maybe a light bulb is now going off for people, understanding like putting your money in a 401k and working a W-2 job and relying on Uncle Sam is going to lead you down a difficult path. Especially we see news of the day right now, Janet Yellen the other day talking about raising interest rates or the need to possibly raise interest rates to combat inflation, which is about to be hitting hard. We see today, of course, the price of, just look at this, the price of chicken, right? The price of chicken now tripling in price, soaring. Restaurants can't keep up with this. Buying chicken wings. The price of steel is surging. Price of lumber is going up like crazy. So we have all of these things that are costing us more and more and more, and the U.S. dollar is not going far anymore. So I'm seeing a lot more of that in our audience as well. And I think inflation, real estate as a hedge against inflation, is going to be one of the most important topics that you and I are going to be able to educate our audiences about over the next 1 to 2 years, I would think.
No, absolutely. And without trying to get off topic here, a lot of these younger people are now learning about the Burr method and just kind of understanding how that process works. And now that that's become so fine-tuned with what to look for, what type of deal they need to focus on, that right there is where I think a lot of younger people are just getting excited about it. Because, who doesn't get excited if you can find a property, find the right deal, get all of this stuff done, and basically be into the property for maybe none of your own money to even very little. Your rates of return skyrocket. And this is what really excites a lot of the young people that I've got, because they're sort of do-it-yourselfers. They're out there finding deals, whereas the older generation, who have jobs, those 30 to 45 or more in age, these people are established. They don't want to go out and find the properties, do the deals, and things like the younger people do. So I think that's what the surge in the young people that I'm seeing is just the fact that they want to get into it, and they can get into it by just borrowing money, using hard money, getting the deal, and then refinancing it, because there's a lot of banks out there, a lot of financial institutions refinancing properties right now at very low interest rates. So absolutely.
Yeah, very good point. And I have a whole video here on the channel about the Burr method and finding, a deal that you can get into, renovate it, work on it, refinance it, and then roll it, snowball it into another property, a third property, a fourth property, and then you're off to the races. Great point.
Exactly.
So let's talk about being a landlord. This is a passion. This is a subject that I'm really passionate about. We've got a lot of news to cover right now because of the eviction moratorium. We can get to that in a second, but I want to first talk about why would I get this question all the time. Clayton, should I manage my own property? Should I manage my own rental property? And I have my own answer, but I want to hear what you say to that type of person. Like, what kind of a person should be managing their own property?
That is a great question. So the type of person that should be managing their own property is the kind of person that really wants to be just more involved in a property on a day-to-day basis. That type of person is not really an investor kind of mindset. They're not looking at it as, this is a property, I put so much money into it, I know I have maintenance costs and I expect a certain rate of return. These people are, how can I minimize that? How can I make the maintenance request smaller? I can make more money if I do it all myself. Or they've watched a lot of the flip this house shows or flipping this or flipping that type shows, and they look at it and go, well, I can do that. I can paint, I can do all of it. So really it's just the choice of, do you want real estate to be that integrated into your life? Or do you just want to look at it as an investment? That's really kind of the decision that you have to make, because if you do want to be a landlord, there are several things that you need to get involved with, and you need to sort of get infrastructure, that you need to build up front in order to continue to grow and maintain that. And if you don't want to do that, and if you don't want to maintain that, then you shouldn't even get started.
Right. Now I've never heard someone say it like this. And I think that was as clear an answer as I've ever heard, which is, the mindset, do you want to be an investor or do you want to be, a bottle washer involved in the process? Like if you're a landlord and you're going to be managing properties yourself, then you are, it's possible you could build your own property management company, where you have 1,000 units and you're, you're a Kevin O'Leary or something like that. You've got, that's what you're doing. But for just the average investor who wants to own 5, 10 properties and build a portfolio and wants to spend more time with their family, when you're managing properties, you're creating a new job for yourself, are you not?
Yes, you are. And that's one of the big reasons why people need to understand this. This is no longer a business when you want to manage properties yourself. It is a business, but it is also a job. And people don't look at it that way. But when you are taking phone calls from tenants and when you're following up with people not paying rent and you're trying to do this, and you're trying to deal with any of these other expenses that you are conditions that you can think of with regards to a rental property, that is a job. That is taking time away from other parts of your life, whether it be your full-time job. I mean, you could still be working at a W-2 job and try to do real estate on the side, but it's still taking up your time. It's still going to take up time, energy, and effort. Now, keep in mind, those people that are landlords, what happens, for instance, when you want to go on vacation, when you want to travel? This is a job, and that's the type of job that you really can't take a vacation from just going out with your family. You have to pay somebody to step in and do your job for you. So even while you're gone, you still have to pay somebody to do that. And as long as you're willing to accept that and that works for you, then that's the way you should go. I mean, you definitely are going to be able to make more money, and your properties, I'm sure, are going to be taken care of. But it goes back to mindset on this one here. Are you in the mindset of this is a business, this is real estate, I'm looking at this as a return, and I'm just going to focus on growing my business more and more? Or if you're that sort of nose deep into the property levels, you're spending so much of your time inside of your business that you don't see the opportunity costs of being able to grow your portfolio when that next deal comes and you don't get to go out and talk to somebody about buying that property. Now you're limiting even your growth of your rental properties.
Right, because now you're narrowly focused on, I have to go collect rent today, I've got a toilet that needs fixing, I've got to go deal with that with the maintenance guy, I've got to meet them over there at that duplex, and that's hours taken away from that when you could be literally farming that out to a proper, really good property management company. Let's talk about this eviction moratorium right now. Of course, news of the day on this eviction moratorium front is that we have now a federal judge overturning the CDC, or what the CDC put in place after the initial eviction moratorium ran out. Then the CDC stepped in. Federal judge has now overturned that. So let's talk about where you see, do we see a flood of evictions coming towards the end of the year? And then, by the way, if you're a property manager, or you're managing your own properties, you're going to have to be dealing with that, not the property manager, right?
Nope, absolutely. So again, I manage properties here in the St. Louis, Missouri area. That's where I'm based at. So I am into this every single day. And this eviction moratorium, man, it's like a big pot that keeps stirring here. And it's very interesting just to see what happens. But I'll kind of give you an example. In my market, people are actually being evicted right now. So the sheriff's office, the execution of the eviction of that office has reopened to start putting people out. And yes, there are going to be a wave, but I think right now we're starting to see, at least in my market, some of the federal money hitting some of the agencies to where we can now push our residents that are behind, push them toward these organizations that have money and funding. Right now, I try to work with people. I mean, there are people out there that are trying to pay. They're out there, they fill out all the applications for these agencies, and they're literally waiting months, plural, to sit back and get money. But the problem is they've collected all these applications, but the agencies have no more funding. They haven't gotten it, or it hasn't been released from the federal government yet for them to sit back and to start doing this. So even though the tenants go out of their way, we've sent them a list of, here's all the agencies, here's who you call, these are the websites that you go. They've done that. So they've done their part. And so those are the people that we really try to work with as far as, keeping them in, keeping them on a payment plan, because they're doing the best they can. And a lot of these people, again, were affected by COVID. They were in that job area that were primarily affected, a lot of the hospitality market.
Let's talk about the application process here. I mean, for landlords that are listening right now, wondering, well, how can I get this assistance? I mean, I know I've talked to in my audience landlords who have tried to reach out to get this assistance. They're, first of all, not sure where to go to get it. When they do try to get it, they hit a brick wall with it. They're, as you mentioned, they're waiting months to get a response, and in the meantime, these tenants are left hanging. So, what would you recommend to people who are trying to find this assistance for tenants that maybe haven't been able to pay, and landlords that are sitting out there with mortgages and property taxes that they have to pay? Can you take us through that process? What does that look like for trying to get some of this assistance?
Wow, great question here. So personally, I have a really totally awesome eviction attorney that works with us, and he is like on top of everything. So he does a lot of work for his clients and helping them bring on, because right now, if you ever go to court, for instance, for an eviction, mediation is a requirement right now with most courts. When you go to court, you almost have to mediate. You have to start applying for rental assistance from some of these other agents. At least in my area, it's court mandated. So now the eviction attorneys, now besides just going to court and trying to work out a payment plan, now they have to also work with all of these other agencies to see, do you have money? Does this person qualify for the funding, to get them to fill out an application? And the attorney is doing all of this for you. It's, again, from what my understanding is, just sort of a court mandated process. So my attorney has a lot of those connections because he has to, being in the market. So he knows who has money, who doesn't have money, what agency to go toward, things like that, because he has a good relationship with them. But besides maybe an eviction attorney, even just trying to contact a local apartment association, or even trying to see if the National Apartment Association from that organization down has a list of either state, local, they might have some of that, or at least even federal money that you can go and apply for. But a lot of the stuff that I've seen, I've tried to tell our clients. We've communicated with people who are, the tenants have been behind for their units, to say, here's what you can do. Back last year, if you have a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae based loan, contact them, find out what's going on. That was a nightmare process for our clients because of how much requirements that they required our clients to get to prove COVID for their clients, which we found out were basically almost impossible for us to get for them to do. So they couldn't even get the deferment like they were supposed to. But it really has been hard for our clients to move forward with it here. And I don't really have a solid bullet point on this one, other than just trying to work with the tenants and get them to go out and fill out applications and just really just do a very good job at communication with them and give them all the resources they need and just have them apply for it.
What's the federal website where people can apply for this, or is it really being handled at the state and county level?
Well, I know everything on my level at the state level. So we have state and even local organizations that I refer people here locally to. But I don't know if there's anything federal. I would just say go to try to use a larger organization like the National Apartment Association to see if I'm sure they would have resources, but I'm not sure if their resources would go to the state level. Typically, you'd have to go to a state local who's a subchapter of the National Apartment Association to get the local resources. But we here in St. Louis, our St. Louis Apartment Association has been great with having those resources as well. They're staying on top of it.
Yeah, and this federal judge, I mean, this is specific to those plaintiffs in that particular case that sued the CDC. And so, but, more broadly, we could see a wave of evictions if it becomes legal precedent. We'll see. We don't know. And then, of course, as you mentioned, state level, there are 17 or so states that have their own eviction moratorium programs in place anyway. So that would still be the case in a lot of different states. What a mess, though, isn't it? I mean, what a nightmare. And when you see the jobs report today, not good news. No. 700 below 700,000 jobs that we expected to have. It's way off base, and so we could be slipping back further in here. And it's really troubling for these people. It's troubling for landlords. It's troubling for tenants. And we need sort of national guidance on this. This is something that I wish we would see more of at the national level. That's my diet.
The biggest thing I would just say, if you're a landlord right now, it would behoove you to sit back and work with the tenants as much as possible. As long as the tenants were cooperating, just definitely don't try to set up any kind of an adversarial relationship. No threatenings, you do this or else kind of communication. That's not the time for this right now. I mean, you just need to be open, work with them, because I saw your post about the eviction moratorium. These people are suffering. I mean, these people, sometimes they don't have jobs, they're on unemployment, they're making less of what they're supposed to be, they're trying to support their families. So, but I mean, ultimately it's a balance. We still have to make sure as a property manager, we do the best for our clients as well, trying to collect something from the rents to offset it. So that really puts us in a challenging situation. So just with all this stuff going on with the federal government, I'm just looking to try to get as much of this money that's supposed to be out there as possible, but a lot of it dried up. And now people are just waiting in queue for some of these organizations for stuff to be paid. Well, in the meantime, the rent just keeps going up and up every month.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're hearing people, landlords in the middle of this pandemic just, jacking up rent, and it's been a Wild West time right now. But I appreciate you joining us here to help make a sense of this for some of our new investors who are just starting. And look, I have to say, to me right now, there's no better opportunity. There's no better place as a store of value for wealth in your family than real estate. As you see what the federal government is doing, you see the U.S. dollar, you see trouble around the world in different U.S. or in different fiat currencies. I think that this is, to me, one of the greatest opportunities for you to protect your family's wealth and to grow a true portfolio as a hedge against inflation. What do you say?
I would say that's what I push people for. Absolutely. Right now, people often ask me, well, this is a really great market right now. It's a seller's market out there with some kind of properties. How can I buy real estate rental property right now? And I just try to teach people it's really about numbers. I mean, you have to look at your purchase price and all the other things that you're dealing with. And as long as that deal makes sense, you can buy it in any market. But for right now, if you really want to find the good deals out, it just requires a little bit more work. You have to look harder out there with property. But yes, you should absolutely own rental property in your portfolio to just hedge against things, especially while the interest rates are low. That's why a lot of my young clients right now, they're just buying, just to get locked in with these 30-year fixed interest rates, just so that they know forecasting in 5 years, 10 years from now, that property is really going to be valuable for them and all the property they have in their portfolio.
Absolutely. So tell me here, as we wrap things up, tell us about veteranlandlord.com. I'm going to put this up here on the screen. Tell us what people can expect when they visit the website to learn more about it.
Well, sure. Well, the veteranlandlord.com, I offer I call it a landlord starter kit, but it's just a way for landlords to get started. It's a way of saying, here's what you're going to need. Here are the things to think about from your marketing, from your leasing. I call it the 5 pillars of property management for this. So you're going to have marketing, leasing, financial section to keep track of all your books. You're going to have maintenance, and you also have legal. And that's another thing that people don't realize, are the legal expectations. So when people want to get into rental property, do you understand all the legal aspects of it? The last thing you want to do is be a landlord and not understand about fair housing laws or about emotional support animals versus service animals and some of these other ADA requirement type deals when you get into. And if you violate those, you can be sued. Now, they're out there. I mean, those lawsuits, you can't violate fair housing. And if you're ignorant, that's really no excuse. If you violate it, somebody can sue you about that. So if you're going to be doing this yourself, you need to make sure that you get educated. And that legal pillar is only one of the 5 that you need to know about. You have to become a marketer. You have to become a leasing agent. You have to build a maintenance team. You have to understand accounting and all this other stuff. It's crazy. But if that's what you want to do, these are all the things you're going to have to do. There's no way of getting around it if you're going to be a landlord. You need to do this. If you don't want to do it, then just simply push it off and have a property manager do all that stuff for you.
Wonderful. So the website is veteranlandlord.com. And of course, if you have it here on the screen, people can go check out that. And to learn about that Landlord Starter Kit as a 100% free online course. My guest has been Edward O'Daniel. We really appreciate you joining us on the show and sharing some wisdom here about evictions and about the process of becoming a property manager and what that looks like right now. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's a privilege. Thank you so much for having me. Great.
Absolutely. And thanks to all of you for joining and subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate you wanting to further your education here and become a more intelligent real estate investor. We hope we brought you some value today. We really appreciate it. Even Grover over my shoulder squeezing a toy here.
Playing with this toy.
Yeah, he's excited. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time.